started doing tours. We took our first one last week, and everybody who went had a very, very good time. We've had very good comments on it, and we hope that you will join us for some of the others. I'd like to call on Marilyn Buck to tell us about what some of the ones that are coming up are about.
Kathy and Joanne and Mac Macchione and I just came from a meeting where we sat down and sort of roughed out the tours for the next year. And if you go into our website starting next week, they'll be listed in there. You can see what we have in mind. But what I just wanted to talk to you about is our tour on March the 31st to historic Bucks County. And there are two very, very interesting things on this tour. The one is the Perry Mansion, that you may or may not be familiar with. It is now the home of the New Hope Historical Society. But for years it was owned by the Perry family. Each room of that home is decorated in a 25-year period in the life of the home. So every 25 years is represented in a room. It beautifully showcases American styles down through the ages. Then there's time to shop in New Hope and have lunch at a charming old colonial tavern, or Bet's Restaurant. You might be familiar with that. It's famous, right on the Delaware River. And then we're going to the Pearl S. Buck home, which is filled with American antiques and Asian antiques. They have an international gift shop and a holiday craft show is going on that weekend in the barn. And departure for home is at 7:20 p.m. Arrival at home is at 7:20 p.m. So that should be a very, very interesting tour. April 21st, we're going to New York City on a historical tour, maybe hitting parts of New York that you've never seen before, including the Tribeca area and St. Patrick's Cathedral, the Soho area, and points uptown. That includes everything: admissions, reservations, and lunch. The price of that Bucks County tour is $63 for members, which is a fantastic deal. Non-members, $68. The New York City Historical Tour, $59 for members. I'm sorry, no glasses, too much pride. $69 for members, $74 for non-members. And then in May, we're going down to Cumberland, Maryland for a historical tour. And that features an old Coca-Cola bottling plant where you can see how they did it. I mean, it's more like a, some engineers like to go and tour the Harley-Davidson plant in York and see how they make motorcycles. Well, this is the way they used to bottle Coca-Cola. And then we're going to a culinary arts school and have a very special luncheon and ride a Potomac Eagle steam train. And I know people who have been on that Potomac Eagle, and they said it is a steam train that you should not miss. So we'll be home from that probably around 8 o'clock at night. Depart at 7 o'clock. Depart at 5 o'clock and be home probably around 7 o'clock at night. I really should wear my glasses. That's all I have to say. If anybody is interested in seeing this Pearl S. Buck brochure so you know what's at the house, please be my guest. I have a couple of things for you to say. What are you trying to tell me, dear?
Well, there are some sign-up forms in the back for anybody who'd like to take one along for your trips.
Do join us on those trips. They're a lot of fun. Is there anyone else in the society that has anything they would like to tell the rest of our group? If not, I would call on our Vice President Bunny to introduce our speaker. I'm getting to be well known for forgetting to pledge allegiance to the flag, so if we stand up.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for coming out this evening, and I thank you again for supporting our Thursday evening programs. The crowds are getting bigger and bigger, so I'm sure it's the knowledge of the speakers. I am very honored to present and introduce our speaker for this evening, Judge William Rathvon. Judge Rathvon served as District Justice for Derry Township and Hummel's Town Bureau from 1975 to 1997. He was Hummel's Town Borough Councilman for 12 years and and served as mayor of Hummelstown for 6 years. Judge Rathvon is presently the sitting judge for Dauphin County Prison, as well as night court arraignment judge for Dauphin County. Judge Rathvon and his wife Gloria reside in Hummelstown, where they have been for many years, and they have just celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. So help me welcome Judge Rathvon.
I'm glad to see the class of 1949 of Hershey High School arrive tonight. That's this gang sitting right in here. They're really religious in keeping up with their getting-togethers and so forth and so on, and I acknowledge you here tonight. I see an old buddy of mine sitting here, and I respect you for coming out. I see you have the air. I've had one of those too. And I guess you thought I was going to talk about things, and you want to see if I'm lying or not. Don't embarrass me. It's good to see you, Richard. Ladies and gentlemen, it really is a pleasure to be here this evening, and I see so many people that I know. I was their milkman at one point in time. And I was their district justice at one point in time. So I've seen them in the courtroom and out of the courtroom, and it's certainly a pleasure to see everybody. I titled my talk tonight, I called Ramblings. The newspaper said I'm going to do trivia. I don't know where that came from, Bonnie, but I do have trivia too. I can go on probably till midnight if you want to stay there. So I know I'll be talking to myself. I think I'm going to acknowledge one individual who just passed away maybe a little bit better than a week ago, and it's an old movie cowgirl lady, and it's Dale Evans. And I've told this old chestnut about 50 times. I'm going to tell it one more time tonight in honor of her passing and so forth. I take it everybody in this room remembers Dale Evans. I look at the age group and so forth, because you have to be a certain age in order to, Charlie, in order to know what I'm talking about here. But it seems Roy and Dale were on the ranch, and Dale looked at Roy's boots and she said, "Roy, you ought to go down and get yourself a new pair of boots because you're wore out." So Roy said, "Okay, I'll do that." So he goes in town, he buys a new pair of boots, and he puts them on. And he rides back to the ranch. On the way back, his feet start hurting him really bad. So he thought he'd soak his feet in the creek along the road, and he pulled Trigger up. He took his boots off, and he starts soaking his feet. Unbeknownst, the wildcat came, grabbed a hold of his boots, and started chewing them. So Roy got ice 45, he shot the wildcat, put it over the back of his horse, went back to the ranch, and when he got in the lane, Dale came running out and said, "Pardon me, Roy, is that the cat that chewed your new shoes?" It's in honor of Roy and Dale. I'm not going to tell that again. Everybody here got a chuckle out of that, and everybody's of the age. What a pleasure it is to talk to you. I'm going to give you a little background on where I came from and why a Hummelstown boy is here tonight talking about Hershey Trivia. I bet that was on some of your minds here this evening. I was born in 1927. And before you figure that out, that makes me 73 years old. And so I can't remember 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, but I can remember back 50 years and 55 years ago. And that's really why I'm here tonight. And of course, I never lived further, I don't believe, than 100 feet from the Derry Township line. But I was always in the borough of Hummelstown. No complaints, I love Hummelstown. But I always appreciated Hershey and, of course, Mr. Hershey and everything good that he's done for everybody. And kept basically studying up on it and so forth and so on. So again, I was born in 27, I was the youngest of 7 kids, That made me the baby of the family. I have 4 older sisters and 2 older brothers. They were depression years, as some of you people here will remember. And we didn't have much. We ate a lot of corn pone. We ate a lot of coffee soup. We ate bologna sandwiches. For dessert, we probably have ginger snaps, which I hate to this day. So, my mother, a wonderful lady and a housewife. My dad, a hard worker and a good person, but he was furloughed from the railroad in those days. There were hard times for everybody. We really did not know we were really poor because when it came to clothing, being the bottom of 7 kids, girls or boys, I had plenty to wear. So I didn't have a problem with that. But we loved each other and we had lots of good times. Finally, and what brings me to my subject tonight, my dad finally got a job, as well as my 2 older sisters, with the Hershey Chocolate Corporation. And times got good. We even had hot apple pie and milk and sugar on occasion. With that, I get into what I'm here tonight to talk about. Basically, I'm going to, there's an awful lot to talk about Hershey. You've got certainly your founder, Milton Hershey, and so forth. And you've got the Milton Hershey schools, and there's just ample things to talk about. I basically zeroed in on Hershey Park and what I remember best as growing up in this particular area. And I know you people are going to remember these things too, but maybe I can say some things here that perhaps if you didn't remember yourself. The first and foremost thing that I remember about back in when I was really young, 10 or so, that we always had a Hummelstown community Sunday school picnic. That was sponsored by the churches as well as by the town. We'd get 1 strip of tickets, which I think was 5 amusement rides on it. It was for these little rides that we weren't old enough to go to big ones, so we got those little ones. Do you remember the Ferris wheel that had the five things on it? They'd put you in and slam the door shut, and you couldn't get out. They'd run around it. And you had the little planes you said they went around the circle. And my favorite was the miniature railroad. I really thought that was just great. Remember, you'd start at one end of the park and go 3/4 of the way around, it would stop, then you had to get up, reverse your seats, and ride back. So, the first thing we did when we got to Hershey in the morning, we went early. Man, I don't even know if it was daylight yet we got to Hershey. We rode the streetcar, or perhaps a neighbor brought us down. We had our brown bag, we had our strip of tickets. First thing we did, we went to the Hershey Chocolate. We took the tour to the Hershey Chocolate. The only reason we did that was to get to Mr. Goodbar at the end of the tour. So we got to Mr. Goodbar, headed over to Hershey Park, and they were starting to run the amusements and so forth. Until noontime, our tickets were gone, and maybe at the most we might have had $1 in our pockets that we saved all summer to come to Hershey. So we blew that by noontime too, as well as our tickets. Our lunches were gone. In the afternoon, thank heavens, they had the games that were sponsored again by the churches and so forth. So we had the peanut scrambles and the penny scrambles and the foot races and so forth and so on. And then at the end of the day, they had the Hershey baseball team play the Hummelstown baseball team, and that was our entertainment for the evening. After that was over, we went over and sat over at the band shell in the park and listened to the Legion band, the Hershey band, the Hershey Town band, and so forth. And that was the end of our day. As we got a little bit older, we came in at the teenage years. Again, this was prior or right around the beginning of World War II. There were a lot of jobs around. Most of the guys that got around us, they caddied over at all the public golf courses. And I particularly started working in the milk truck, and I stayed there for about 30 years. But I always had money in my pocket, and of course that's why I worked. And guess where we spent it? We came to Hershey Park and we blew it. But in those days, it was a lot more fun than the younger days. We could ride all the bigger pieces, or the bigger amusements and so forth and so on. And you remember the club, and you remember the whip, and you remember, I'll turn the page here. We read the old mill. Remember the old mill? And you remember when somebody said they got bit by a snake in there? Does that ring a bell with everybody? And I think that was investigated, and I don't think anything ever materialized out of that because it kind of faded into the blue. But I know it scared us, and I think they even might have shut it down for a while. But somebody claimed they got bit by a snake. We never got bit by any snakes. But anyway, that was one of our favorite rides. We also rode the figure eight. That was prior to the Wildcat. I don't know what it's called now, but we called it the figure eight. I think I'm right there. Am I right? Did we call it a figure eight? Nice thing doing that you don't remember, Charlie. You didn't have no money. You couldn't buy the park. These other people remember, but I think they call it the figure eight. So anyway, we rode that. And the fun part of all those rides and so forth and so on was we ended up going into the fun house. And that was certainly one of my favorites. That's where they had the, remember the chute, you grab a burlap bag at the bottom and walk up the chute, and you sit up there and ride down and go up again. And the barrel where you started walking through, and if you took the wrong step, you fell over and you couldn't get out of the darn thing. And they had to stop it so you could get out of it. The mirror maze where you went in, I think you're getting some of the babies again where it slims them down. Those days made you look like this and like this. But again, they were all things that were fun and so forth, and certainly things that stick in my mind. Generally speaking, we'd end up, the end of a long day of amusement rides, and we'd end up at the merry-go-round where the bridge was. Of course, we hung on that bridge. You know why all the Hershey girls hung at the merry-go-round? They didn't want us humble town boys, they called us hicks. Hicks. I married a Hershey girl, by the way, and I know this is gospel. They called the Palmyra boys, they called them dumb Dutchmen, so I'm not insulting anybody, but the group was the same as ours. And of course, they never liked, in those days, the Hershey Industrial School boys, they called them farmers and cows. But we still hung there watching who were those few little Italian girls that ran around it. And that basically, after that was over, again, we blew up and we watched the band concert to remember the concert. Again, with the Legion bands, however, many instances, I remember Maynard McKissick and his big band, the Renown, he was up there, and made for good days and lots of fun. We go from those days, I'm going to talk about the Ice Palace. The Ice Palace is where we went every Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon for 75 cents. You could skate till your ankles wore out. But again, the girls were there and we chased them and all that kind of stuff. Sounds like the girlfriend, and really not. But that's what he was, right, Richard? He was with me, by the way. So we spent a lot of time there, and along with the Ice Palace, of course, was the hockey game. And I'll never forget this particular episode. We went to a hockey game, but we always went as a gang. And we go to a hockey game, and we'd all sit peanut head. But we weren't interested in hockey, we just liked to go. No girls here. What happened, I won't tell you who it is, but he ended up a doctor. He retired now. He was one of our gang. And we were sitting up at Vita Heaven, and he popped gum, chewing gum or something, and he threw it down, and it got in the guy's, it actually landed in the guy's hair. And it was a bunch from Lebanon. They were bigger and tougher than we were. We had it up, but they had it up and caught us in the bathroom. Those days they had those big urinals this wide. High, marble. I don't know if they were marble, but they were high. Anyway, they caught us in there and they started pushing us around. They didn't push me too much because I was so little. They kind of wrecked me. Well, you're long haired, Dick. You know what doctor I'm talking about. Anyway, they caught my one friend, his name was Ray Davis, and I don't mind saying that. Ray was pretty powerful, so they got him, and they shoved him in that urinal backwards, and they flushed that baby. There wasn't a thing we could do to help him. They were bigger and tougher than we were. Ray went home wet all over. And it was cold too, but we got him home. So. Following spring, when the park opened, we were back on our bridge down by the merry-go-round. And you remember the paddle boats, the rowboats, and the canoes. Coming down that creek, right headed toward us, and they didn't see us right away. It was the meanest, mouthiest guy from Lebanon that gave us the most torture in that bathroom. And he came down there in this rowboat, him and another. And we were on the bridge, and he was underneath. Believe me, did we give him a ride? It's not nice to say, but in those younger days, you did these kind of things. We were spitting on him, gathering the dirt off the bridge and throwing it down. And we followed him the whole way back to get back and put his boat back along with. And that was kind of the end of the situation with the guys from Lebanon. So we felt relieved, we got even with them. Wouldn't do that anymore, man. But anyway, those were some of the things that again stick out in my mind. How long did I have with them?
What would you do if somebody brought a case like that to you now?
I don't, what do you mean when I was acting? Right now I handle all the jail guys. You wouldn't be in jail for that. A lot of rice going in him, really? A check? No, I'm not talking about that, didn't I?
Oh, I didn't.
That's old time stuff.
They love that.
You're getting my mind off my subject. No? Mr. Persh, who's the one that was instrumental in getting me up here this evening. I spoke at another group, and I think it was 1983 when I was the district justice. We had lots of really funny, exciting episodes. Funny and sad and so forth. But Charlie's talking about, we had the Erie Township cops are famous for catching speeders. As we all know, they caught this guy from Harrisburg, and he wrote me a letter. Near as I can remember, he said, I'm tired of paying fines and so forth. He said, all I have left is the seat of my pants. And he sent me a pair of his jockey shorts, and he had a check written out on the backside. And there was numbers on there, and they were positively authentic. It was drawn on the Hamilton Bank. And he sent me this, and his name was Bear, and he's still around. He's up in Harrisburg. He's a lieutenant in that Harrisburg fire company. I called his wife, and I said, listen, I said, I can't accept this. Yeah, it was legal tender. Hamilton Bank, I called Hamilton Bank first, and he said, bring it up the bank, and we'll cash it. And this is true. I'm not standing up and making this up. Am I right, Charlie? Did I say the same thing then? Okay. So anyway, what happened then, I said, I'm not running his shorts to Harrisburg, and I did. I called his wife. They lived up around the Klein Village area. And she said, oh, he's so, and she used wrong. He's about her husband. He's so this and that, miserable and hard-headed. She said, I'll be right down with the check for you, and she did. Took him down and she gave me a thank you. I kept those shorts. And they're home, and maybe someday I'll run into you again, I'll bring them home. That wasn't what I was here tonight for. Oh, I got a million of those, baby.
I won't say any more about it.
Okay. Okay, I think basically I went through most of what I was talking about as it pertained to the ice house and so forth and so on. And then I would be remiss if I didn't talk about everybody's all-time favorite, Hershey's Public Pool. And that was everybody's favorite, because there again, you could go and spend the whole day. We looked forward to Saturday nights when they had the big bands over the ballroom and so forth. I guess most of us saw most of the big people and didn't have to pay more than 75 cents to get in and watch. Around 8 o'clock, we'd all file over and try to get the best spots with our blankets and so forth and so on. And I can remember seeing the on Monroe, Dorsey Rose. And I can remember particularly one I really, truly always loved was Doris Day. She was there and she sang the Les Brown. I don't know how many know Jimmy Mastromadio in here. He's gone now. But Jimmy was a good guy and was a good dancer. And Jimmy also liked Doris Day. And he asked her if she danced with him. She said she loved to. She would have to ask Mr. Brown first, and Mr. Brown said, no way. So Jimmy just missed out, but he told us that, and different friends of his did some over that. He said that actually happened. But how nice that was on Saturday night to go through all that. And that certainly brings back memories for a lot of people. And the guys with that white sport coats on, and the girls would be all dressed up. And hardly anybody danced because it was always so full, and all they did was crowd up around the bandstand, and they got squashed up there. But you know, they didn't let people up and throw them around like they do nowadays. They actually listened to the music. It was just great. The sunken garden was another treasure. I don't know how many I don't know how many people are here that actually moved in the area, but if you lived here, you really are keeping up with me as far as these memories are concerned, I'm sure. But you went under the road, you went through a tunnel under the road, and you came out into something garden. And there again, you could find peace and quietness and tranquility with your girlfriends. It was really a nice, nice place to be. Spring Creek came down through there, and Hershey had installed a fountain, and they had colored lights in it, and that used to be gone, and how nice that was. You didn't hang around there at dark just to look at that fountain and all its glory. You come up again, getting back to that park band, park ballroom. Getting back to that part and all those pleasant evenings and so forth we had. We really were very, very fortunate not just to live in Hershey, but to live inside Hershey. We could not have done anything without the benefit of Hershey Office. It certainly kept my family going over the years, that's for sure. But Harry James, by the way, we saw him on so many occasions. We ended the day off at Hershey Creamery, where we ate Eskimo pies. And they were good times and good days, certainly worth remembering and talking about. I said by the start of here, it's so hard to say everything you want to say, because you really should talk about our founder. And we all know most of it anyway, but isn't it wonderful how he lives on and on, the show lived on. And certainly was a godsend to our particular area, our forefathers, moving into this particular area and kept everything going the right direction, and I, for one, feel it's still going the right direction. I don't like to see things like the community in Long Island and the soap factory and the creamery. And I know you people are historical society people, you don't like it either, but in the name of progress, I guess it just happens. There sure isn't much to do about it. And a lot of the good things are still here. And the best and foremost thing that's here is the fact we remember these things and we talk about them. And I think we're blessed. I have a few questions or a few trivia for you. I think it's about 38 pages. Most days. But you'd be surprised how it brings back things with you if you want to participate. Feel free to yell it out.
Why did you bring your secretary? Some of your papers.
I know, I never was good at that. There's another place I counted my blessings with my secretary. I love her dearly. My right and my left arm, and I always said that. So anyway, Dairy Church was renamed to Hershey. Does anybody know what year? Oh, there's a gentleman said he knew what it was.
February of 1906.
That's absolutely right. I'm not giving out chocolate bars, I'm just asking questions. You know what year the Hershey Park Ballroom opened? Which one first? That was the Hershey Park Ballroom. Now beside the pool. No. And I will, it's 1905. It opened as the Hershey Park Ballroom. Hershey Park opened for its first season when? That's what the story factor, yes.
1907.
April 24, 1907. When was the ground broken for the chocolate factory?
1903. March 2nd, 1903.
When was... Did this gentleman back there answer everything right?
March 2nd, 1903.
Absolutely right. When was the first phase completed? I mean, how they built it, I mean...
They moved the Lancaster making equipment in the summer of 1905.
Do you have this book?
You had your notes wrong for that.
Everybody else too.
I'll shut up.
What type of chocolate was first introduced? July the 1st, 1907. What was the first thing that came off the production? You know?
Kisses, I say.
Hershey Kisses, right. The miniature railway operated for the very first time in what year? Does anybody know that? That's a tough. But the miniature railway.
1910.
Miniature train or whatever.
1910 or 12?
10.
Very close, 1909. And I'm not the expert here, but I got it from the book that the experts wrote. Hershey department store opened.
Which one?
You keep saying which one? I only ever knew one. I'm older than you. No, I'm talking about the very first one.
1910.
Was there chocolate? Was there a factory? There was a department. Were the cocoa in the last? I must have missed that. I'm not the one that's still standing. It was 1910. The theater opened 1914. Hershey High School was dedicated October 13th, 1914. And it was made up of 15 one-room schools spread all over Dairy Township. Consolidated. Let me ask you, sir, when was the first community Christmas tree? I think it was where they put it now, in front of the community. And then, Milton Hershey's wife passed away. We all know that.
16.
That was March 25th, 1915. She passed away at the age of 43. The zoo opened May 26, 1916. The Hershey Ballroom was renamed the Right. April 23rd, 1917. Fanny D. Hershey passed away, the mother of Mrs. Hershey at the age of 85 years, in 1920. Hershey Hospital opened for inspection May the 15th, 1924. I didn't quite know what that meant, to be perfectly honest with you. But I think interesting trivia, here I have a bill from the Hershey Hospital dated August the 4th, 1937. And it's, the names are Mildred Brandt, who happened to graduate from high school with me, and Stanley Brandt, her brother. They lived at 197 South Railroad Street, Hummelstown. They were in the hospital from August the 3rd, August the 4th, 2 days, I guess it was. Board and room was $4 for each. I think it was Thompson's. Yes,
I was born in '39 in the hospital when I was in the community building.
I think that's what I'm looking at too, am I right? You know how much it cost for you to be born?
No.
Yes.
I believe the original Hershey Hospital was around 1924, 23, and it was like in the front yard of where the theater is now. A large white frame building. It faced on Chocolate Avenue, right beside the Dr. Stetton.
And that's the where the Iron Grate is on the back, below the theater entrance, that was the ambulance entrance. Goes up the incline.
I must have been in the park because I don't remember the. But anyway, that's what we're here for. That makes a difference. But anyway, these two people, I don't know what their problem was, but for the use of the operating room, it was $250, and for the one it was $250, the other was $350, and the anesthesia was $5. It was a total of $19, and that's what this bill is here. That's what we're paying. She had the same amount of time down, and she wanted to bring us along. I thought that's what I did. I'm not gonna, I got a whole load of trivia here, but I will, it's getting a little late now, and I can probably get a little itchy, and you want to get this over with. No? Okay, then let's go. Park swimming pool opened when? Man in the green sweater.
Summer of 29.
What year, sir?
29.
Absolutely right. Hershey Estates Dairy opened, dear to my heart. They were competitors, but they were dear to my heart anyway. When? No, 1920. The colored water fountain opened in the Sunken Gardens the year
1532.
30. Again, I'm not the expert, that's what it looks like. I checked, double checked. Here it says, Hershey Hospital located on the 5th floor of the community building, opened 1932. So I had things a little backwards, but anyway, that's what it opened. Community building was dedicated September the 3rd, 1933. Hershey Industrial School was dedicated when, George? I have November 15th, 1935. I'll give you 90. Hershey Rose Garden opened in the spring of, what is that? May and the Greek.
35?
36. Mr. Hershey's 80th birthday was celebrated by the entire community September 13th, 1937. 1938, September 14th, Hershey Junior College opened. 1938, September 14th, the Crackle Bar was introduced. Again, 1938, November 5th, Hershey Bears first hockey game. In 1939, May the 18th, the stadium opened, seated 16,000, and there was a football game dedicating it with Hershey High, and they played Hummelstown. Now, we only ever beat Hershey High, I believe, 4 or 5 times in a 40-some year span. We beat you when the grand opening. I'll tell you why, I know for sure. I don't know how many people here know Rudy Petrina. You know Rudy, he's got a cleaning establishment. Good guy. I was trying to find out. I stuck in my mind that Hummelstown won that game, which is very unusual. And I called Rudy, and he said, "You better believe we won that game." How old did he be? 82, 83. And he said, "You know who made the touchdowns?" And I said, "I bet you did." "Yes, I did, and I was the captain." He said, "Chet Martin," who again Dick would know. Chet Martin kicked the 2 extra points, almost down 114-0. I told him where I'm going to use this, and he said, "Be sure to tell him that." So that was quite an accomplishment. 1942, Hershey Foods granted Army Navy E Award for the ration D-bar. 1944, the Hershey Air Park. The air park was built. 1945, Milton Hershey passed away at the age of 88 years. He died in the Hershey Hospital. 1947 was the groundbreaking of the St. Joan of Arc School. Would that be the church also? Yes. 1948, June 12th, Hershey Memorial Field was dedicated. 1953, October the 3rd, birthday party for President Eisenhower. It just comes to my mind now, I see Mr. Grosnick back there at the end, and Hershey, the old State Police Academy was located at the end of Elm on Cocoa. In 1965, the All Saints Episcopal Church was dedicated. In 1960, Pennsylvania State Police moved and dedicated their facilities up in the hill. 1963, High Meadow Campground was over. 1964, Hershey Junior College merges with Hack. Sad day. 1967, Hershey Motor Lodge opened with 200 rooms. 1969, Hershey Juvenile Golf Course. Name was changed to Spring Creek Golf Course. 1907, Hershey introduces the Rally Bar. I always liked Mr. Goodbar, and I missed that in here sometimes. And I put that in here special, but I missed it. That probably was one of the second or third really popular candy bars. Yes, you did. Big yellow.
Didn't they used to say that sweep the floor and make
Yes, they did say that. They always said you ought to eat a pound of dirt a week too. 1970, another very simple. Community theater discontinues the daily motion picture operation. 1970, March 1, new Hershey country club openers. I want to tell one story, that's a true story, and Mr. Keith is sitting over here. And I don't know, I directed to you people from his class, and I don't know how many people do that Dick was from Homestown. You now since Dick. But Dick, Dick was a real good buddy of mine. We were together on a daily basis. We lived beside each other. And I was over and into that, made me the boss, and he didn't give me any arguments. We were very good friends. But Dick and I were great sports enthusiasts from the time we were ever old enough to walk, I suppose. And it was, as I said to you before, getting back to football, Hershey used to kick the crap out of us. And every time they beat us, they'd come up to Homestown. I don't know how they could afford it or where they got their cards, but they'd come all over Homestown blowing their horns. Every year when the garden was finished and you had those old tomatoes hanging on, Dick and I would store them up. Boy, we blessed them. We knew how to run to get away, but they didn't know where we were. They used to stop the cars and then we really hauled. We didn't want 2 meetings in one night, but I put that thing sitting over here at the end, and I know that certainly is something he remembers well. Okay, we're getting up to 1970, and March the 13th, Founders Hall was dedicated. 1970, September 25th. September 25th was closing the Cocoa Inn, the Home Garden Store, and the Hershey Lumber Mill. And you know when they tore the lumber mill down, they had about halfway down, and there was a big fire and burnt the rest down. Remember that? That just clicked on me. But 1970, Cocoa Inn was demolished by explosives. 1970, I want to direct this to you, Bonnie. Who was deducted into Pennsylvania? Hockey. That's it. 1971, Hershey Park opened for the 65th season. There's now a fence around it, and it costs. 1971, June the 5th, dedication of the Milton Hershey Medical Center. 1971, July 27th, Hershey Estates Dairy sold to Lankerbrook Farms. Bye-bye, Eskimo pie. Put that in there for what it was worth. Everybody in here made it, I bet, ate Eskimo pies. Okay, 1972, Hurricane Agnes came to town. Hershey Foods was closed down for 11 days due to severe flooding. September 1, 1972, Hershey Foods has its 10 millionth customer, or 10 million visitors. 73, June the 30th, Chocolate World opened. No more plant tours. 1973, September 12th, Hershey Department Store closed its closed. It opened in 1910. I know we went through that, but that's what I'm talking about. 1974, the Dairy Presbyterian Church observed it. What anniversary? Any Presbyterians in here? Exactly right. 250. That's 250. March in 1977, March 14th, the first 8 girls were enrolled in the Milton Hershey School. That's all my book brought me up to was 80. And I really got through. I thought maybe that you'd be sleeping by now or walking out. Since you did, I got everything in I wanted to get in. I just began to say I want to really, truly thank you for having me this evening. There was a lady probably 5 or 10 years ago, and she was probably
Use the mic, we can't hear you.
this particular lady lived in Lancaster, and I said she was about 10 years, maybe. This is 10 years ago, and she's about the same age as I am, so she was going to spring chicken in those days. She was in Lancaster, and she had been drinking, and she was pretty well snooted out. A guy came along in a Cadillac and picked her up and took her for a ride, and he brought her to Hershey. And down there, which was at Spring Creek Golf Course, right there, Miller's, he evidently had a fight with her. She got mad and she got out of the car. She didn't even have her shoes on. She had shoes in his car. And she went in to where they rent out the carts and so forth. And she got one of those electric carts, must have just been charged up, because she got in that thing and she went back across the golf course, across 322, and ended up at 230 in that golf course. 230, it's around High School. That seems enough. That's true. It so happened I was in night court that particular week. When they caught her, they said, "Look, this lady she stole this golf cart first." And then she rode it the whole way over to 230. And the funniest part was that one of the girls who worked for me in those days, she was from High Sparrow, and she came in the morning and she said, "You'd never believe what I saw last night. There was a woman going up the middle of 230 in a golf cart." But because I wasn't like, well, when they picked her up, they brought her into me, and I said, "What are you doing?" And she went through the whole litany of why she was there and so forth and so on. This guy kicked her out, and she was getting sobered up by that time she drove that thing. And I said, "Well, what are you doing up here anyway?" She said, "Well, my daughter works in the Steelton Legion, I believe, or the Moose or something." And she said, "I was coming to see her," and she got sidetracked with this guy in the Cadillac. So anyway, I scolded her, called her daughter. Her daughter came and took her home for the night. And she went, the hearing was with me because it happened in Derry Township. Then we left to go. I left to go. She was too bad. She just was doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. So that's about it, folks. I enjoy being here, and I truly mean that. And it's fun to talk about all things. I really, truly enjoy it. Yes, Mr. Murray.
Bill, I have a suggested question for your trivia question.
What's that?
In the 30s and 40s, next to Mr. Hershey, who was the most famous man in Hershey?
You asking me? William Murray?
Anybody?
William Murray? Frankie.
There you go, Harry Stride.
Harry was okay. He used to ride the streetcar.
Harry Stride. Harry Stride.
I just want to tell you one other thing comes to mind. I spoke to the Homelstown Rotary. We talked about the different basic characters in your town. And Homelstown was loaded. We're still loaded. And had all kinds of people, but they were all really good people. They weren't worse. But remember Harry walking around? And there was another gentleman who worked at Hershey Trivia. He lived on top of the club with my office initially was at the community center on the second floor where the junior college was. And this man used to walk back and forth over from the post office. You remember what I'm talking about? But he worked for Hershey Trivia. I don't know. He used to talk under his breath. And people, these people they keep having him arrested. They thought he was making nasty cracks to him or something. It could be. Well, unless you have anything else, I'm all finished, and it's been a pleasure, and thank you for having me. I really love it. We had one of these at home. I had a desk down in the basement.
selling tickets here.
My wife was sitting here in the black. She's always on my case about eating too much candy and all this. I sitting down there with and my wife is a graduate of Hershey, worked there 43 years. She did specialty crafting, she was part of her tenure there. So this box there, I took a razor blade and I slid it right here. And I got one of that really nice, really nice. And I took the middle bar out of there. And I stuffed it. I stuffed it so it wouldn't slide out. Put it back, scotch taped it, left it sit. One night her sister from Lebanon and her husband came to visit us. Since we don't eat chocolate, boy said, but you, Dolly, I'm going to give you the chocolate. We don't eat it. But you believe, my sister-in-law said, oh, I'm so hungry for that, but I had it. I wonder who wrapped that. That's terrible. My sister-in-law said, I'm so hungry for that, but didn't she open that darn thing up?
This is going in.
And I knew, right away she knew what I could do. I just going to tell you one other thing, then I am quitting. Long as say, that was 3 years ago. I'm still, I can't.
I'm telling you, it's gonna be lucky.
We were at Sam's and she bought those things.
I
Joe buys
come
this
this
stuff
lady
and
here,
then doesn't want me
I'll
to
give
eat
you
it.
next time.
It's a big,
This kid
the
went
silver bowl is big and then like a pyramid thing, and then it's a box of candy, and a smaller box of candy, and a smaller box of candy. Have you seen them at Sam's? And a nice big ribbon around it, and that thing was sitting in our house. A couple of weeks. I decided I'd get in the middle box and eat some of it. It was delicious. And I do believe, came home right around Christmas, she said, Sue Evans called and she wants all us girls to come up here for a get together, and she said, I didn't know what to give to them, so I'm I was putting a ribbon back on her. Then she stick that darn candy in one of these Christmas bags, you know, tissue. And that is the end of it. She took it up and gave it to myself. That lady isn't going to say anything to her if she misses that. Well, enough, she's blaming on her kids. Poor kids. And it ended up, my wife's brother passed away about a month ago. We were talking about this, and I felt pretty bad. I said, now listen, Lori, I want to tell you something. I want to make a confession. She said, what? We were very serious in our conversation. And she said, I said, do you remember that kid? No. I said, it has to do with Sue Evans. Sue Evans is your girl. And I know she thought I was probably having an affair with Sue, and she said, why? I said, oh, it's nothing like that. I said, for heaven's sakes, remember the candy you took up there when I ate the middle back? I wish you could have heard her. And Sue's a good person, and I called her and I said, Sue, did you eat that candy? And here's what she said. She said, no. And she said, I hid it because the darn kids would eat it. Well, she hid it, she was eating out. That's straight. That's the way it is. Okay, folks, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We had a good laugh tonight. That was lots of fun. I guess what we're down to now are the raffle, and we have some people around. If anybody wants raffle tickets, they can buy them from the people who are coming around. It's $2 for one ticket and $3 for $5.
Selling winners.
Okay, I'm going to, while we're doing this, I'm going to pass this around for you to put your name on to make cookies, if you will.
This guy is, where's the, that was unbelievable. Just reel it right off. The Rain Man. It's funny, but I can forward two of those guys. Yeah. Crazy Kitty and Sunshine Sam. And Repent. They were the third. Repent?
Raise your hand. 3 seconds.
Three-piece suit, and you take off the shirt, and you walk right down the beach.